5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're live with Neve. This is Live with Neve. Iconic musicians, comedians, and entertainers of all types. Interviews, comedy, and God knows what else. Hold on!
You're on Live with Neve today, and I have a very special guest. I have the lovely and talented Gina Jones. She is a country singer par excellence. She's got great lyrics. She's got great chops. And I brought her on because I've always out looking for new entertainment and talent to showcase on the show. And I just love the tunes. Some of them have meaning to me in personal ways that I can't express in polite society. But they're really good. I have a couple of my favorite exes, and I think you can relate to where she's coming from in some of her songs. So without further ado, hey, Gina.
Hey, how are you?
I'm excellent. How about you?
I'm doing great.
Great. So tell me, what are you working on? Let's. You've got all kind of sort of irons in the fire.
Hang on one second. There we go. I lost you there for a second. I'm working on some new music right now. I'm going to be coming out with an old Vince Gill song. I'm going to redo it, kind of more, today. And then I'm also going to do a ballad that I wrote, and then we're going to re-put out my next X that I'm getting ready to sing for you. We're going to go into the studio in Nashville and record it with Carrie Underwood players and Jason Crabb players.
Great.
So it can be the best it can be, and then
Absolutely.
we're going to put it out there on the major on Sony Orchard. So
great. Well, that's exciting. I'm sure. Everybody who's been in this biz, I know you've been paying your dues a long time, like me. We've both been in this business since a young age, and I don't want to say my age because I might scare people out there. They'll wonder what diet I'm on. I'm only 140, so I'm doing okay.
Is that dog years?
Yeah, probably. I actually have to ask my ex about that. She might say it's definitely dog years. Excuse me. So tell me, what got you into singing? You came from a musical family, so tell us a little bit about that.
Did. Well, we lived in the holler in Missouri, and and so my brother Stan, he started it all, and he came home with a guitar one day and he started singing like Merle Haggard. And my dad said, "You need to teach all your brothers and sisters how to do that." And so he did, but not me, because I was the baby and he didn't like me.
I love it.
So he didn't teach me. So I sat in the background and learned in my head. And then it was really crazy. But when they needed a bass player, I already knew everything in my head, and I just started playing the bass and didn't have any lessons whatsoever.
Great.
So
well,
it was a God-given talent.
Absolutely. And we do make fun of bass players because I'm a drummer, and we either are blaming the bass player or he's just looking at us with that stern and quiet. I know that there's some bass players that play with me and they love my playing. When I start just being wild and crazy, Neil, they're like, "I don't understand this guy. I don't like that boy. There's something wrong with his head." and it's like, I love country and I have it down. I've lived down south. I've played in bars all over. And I have my credibility for Yankee. I've been accepted in both places, which is great.
That's awesome.
I love you guys down south and gals. First off, the barbecue is great. And people have manners.
And sweet tea.
Sweet tea, man. Absolutely. And I drink a lot of that nowadays. Had to cut down on the sugar, though. There you go. Well, it's funny because a lot of friends from up here, when they go down south, they have no idea what sweet tea is.
I know.
And I'm
not
like,
until they go to south, yeah.
Yeah, and I look at the waitress. I'm like, oh, he's from New York. This guy has no clue, And they smell turnips or turnip greens rather, and they're like, hell, my second wife, she'd tell me I'm gonna throw that shit out of the house if you cook it again. And she did not have a nose for cooking Southern style, needless to say. But the good thing is she wasn't that good at much other. So she can't get no respect. So I did all the cooking in that relationship because otherwise I would probably be. Yeah, it was a good thing for everybody. Tell me, what Where do you see yourself? No, I don't even want to ask that question because everybody asks that when you go into a job interview. Where do you see yourself in 2 years? Not working for you, jerky.
Um, I kind of doing my own thing. You know, my passion is not only just for me in songwriting and putting music out. It's for other artists too. So I actually am the A&R director at Sony Orchard MC1. So I
Right?
bring new talent on the label as well. I screen them and bring them in.
Great.
So if you know any, send them my way. And
I will.
yeah, and
Absolutely.
I want to give a big plug to MC1 Sony Orchard. They're doing some great things. They've had a lot of songs out, you know, on the charts,
Yes.
and for an indie major, you know, I look at that company as if it's going to be like a Curb Records in the future, because I
Right.
was around when Curb Records first started and Tim McGraw first signed on.
Right.
So
Absolutely. Well, all I can say is, hell, you can slip in my drummer card. I wish I was working with Tim, as everybody does, and
yeah,
a great guy,
he
I
was
have to
smart.
say.
He
Yeah,
was
very.
smart. Okay. Yeah, I knew him because he used to sing at the same stage as I did in Printer's Alley. And so
Right.
when he came in and said he got a record deal, we were all asking him questions. And of course, his dad put the money up for it. People
Right.
don't understand that it's a music business. It's not a music hobby. So,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know,
Oh, you try telling that to some musicians, though. Believe me.
yeah, people get mad about that kind of stuff. But that's been going
Hmm.
on since the early 90s, even before that, where you
Oh
go in
yeah.
and you negotiate your deal with, you know, and you have an investor, you put the money up and they match it or whatever. It goes on all the
Right.
time, you know, and then most of the time, like with us, for example, you know, we do have them come with some sort of investment, but we match it.
Right.
And it
Right.
really only pays for their recording, if
Right.
that, you know.
Yes. In fact, it's good that you actually pay half because otherwise you just got this huge amount of money to recoup. And a lot of younger artists are like, oh, I'm rich, man, I'm
Yeah,
signed. And then they're in debt. Like, the record's out and they're
yeah,
still paying it off and recouping it a year later,
yeah. The record label, they'll go buy a house,
Yeah.
buy, and then
Right.
they'll take it all off of their earnings, and they're in, you know, like a few. I won't say a few, but they're bankrupt. You know,
Oh, yeah.
10, 15 years later, they're bankrupt. So nowadays with the independent market, I mean, you're going to spend that anyway, being an
Right.
independent artist, you know, to get
Sure.
your promotions out worldwide. You're going to
Right.
spend what you would spend with the indie major label anyway. So
Right.
I've already done it. You know, I've done it for the past 7 years. And so
Right. Right.
signing with them is like a relief off of me because
Oh, I'm
I
sure.
don't have to sit up till 2 o'clock in the morning posting, you know.
Oh man, I know. I don't love many hours of sleep, but that's okay. I never really have, and there's nothing better than hanging out with a bunch of musicians.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, it's just hell. I find when hiring musicians, it's more important that you get that right personality that really fits in. I've had players who are just monsters and they're absolute jerks, and I'm like, I don't care how good this guy is. I'm not hanging out with him. He's no fun to hang with. You
Yeah.
have to ride somewhere on a bus, God forbid. You'd be stuck with some jerk for 6 weeks or whatever it is. It's like, oh, okay. Soon everybody in the band will be whispering. By the time we get home, I've already got a bass player lined up. It's that kind of thing.
Funny.
But
I understand all that.
yeah, I bet you do. So tell me some of your great stories. Tell me what is the most, and we've all been in a musician's spot where we just hit the bottom or something happens that what we planned, like I had a great singer signed up to go on the road and all of a sudden he's like, I'm calling him and he's answering the phone going, no habla inglés. And I'm like, you don't speak Spanish, dude, at all. So just drop it. Why aren't you at the gig? And he's like, well, my girlfriend, I got a new girlfriend. And they had 2 weeks. We had 2 weeks left of a bunch of work. He promised he'd be there. So I had to go at the gig and he's not there. And I know he's not coming. And it was terrible. So I'm curious, in your career, you probably have some of those amusing moments that have just, you've been like, what in the world am I in this business for?
Exactly. There's been many, but one that sticks in my head really right now is I was on the road with this band we called it Nashville Country Music Kazoo, but it was called Nashville Country Music Review. We all behind the scenes called it Kazoo, yeah.
I love
And,
it.
And we had been to, I think it was Tampa, Florida, and it was called United Opry Shows. And it was where all of the old Opry stars were there. We opened for at least 35 of them.
Was that, were you at the Performing Arts Center or Ruth Eckerd Hall?
It was at the fairgrounds.
Oh, the fairgrounds. Okay, yeah. Great. Yeah. I actually got a graduation diploma at those fairgrounds a long, long time ago.
So anyway, I got to know Jim Ed Brown backstage pretty well. And he thought that I looked like Helen Cornelius because and I used to sing, when I was little, I used to sing, me and my brother sang their songs, but I didn't remember them,
Right.
So anyway, after that gig, we were on the road to the next gig, and I'm woke up by the bus driver manager, and he says, Jim Ed Brown, he had a beeper back then.
Right.
Jim Ed Brown beeped me, and I called him, and he wants you to sing because his girl duet singer flaked out, and he wants you to sing. And it was the very next day.
Oh, ouch.
All of the duet songs, all of the harmony parts and everything. So I actually got up. He handed me a tape. And I actually got up and went to the back of the bus in the suite, and I started
banging it out.
Yeah, I learned it all night long. And so whenever I got on the stage and I saw him over to the side, he's getting ready to come on. He's like, hey, you got it down?
Come on, girl.
And I'm like,
you know what? Obviously, you pulled it off, so it's a great thing. Well, all right.
It was hard. I mean, it was nerve-wracking.
Absolutely.
You don't mess up somebody like that,
Absolutely. And it's like, I don't choke usually, but occasionally you just, for a second, you go, oh my gosh, what am I doing? This is great. And I just, I've been doing this so long. I just get up there and I know I've got my sticks in my hand. And even though I sing lead in my band, I front like 80 songs. And it's funny because nobody's used to having a drummer up there. And they're like, what's this shit with the drummers up front? And, my bass player's behind me so he can pop me in the head with his bass if I put a low note. He's like, and, it just developed because I had a couple of times had gotten in a situation where somebody canceled or quit, like that story I was telling earlier.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll never get to the point at a gig where if somebody doesn't show up, we're going to get fired ever again. And I've been singing a lot of backup. I've been in groups where we had 4-part harmonies. So I just made sure since then, and that was 30 years ago, and everybody's saying no drummers sing, and I'm like, no, what about Levon Helm or Don Henley? You're not exactly schleps, and I've been fortunate because I can do it, and it's they always say, well, it's not bragging if you can do it, and
that's good.
I do it very fluently. I just sit down. It's like I was just interviewing a jazz guy, and he's a killer bossa nova guy, and I was just sitting here off camera. I was like, I was just all ate up with it. I was like sitting here playing, wishing I was at the gig with him because I'd just be tearing it up. And he's a very fine player, but I get that itch every time I have to listen to somebody. So I'm going to say, how about we listen to you a little bit and less of my talking?
Okay.
All right.
So you're wanting me to sing that My Next X song, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So you want me to tell you the story about it?
Absolutely. I want the extended version.
Okay. Well, I have had a rough life. Being in the music business from age 9, it kind of lends itself to dysfunction sometimes. So I always say I was the woman at the well that Jesus talked to, and she went into the
it's a literal come to Jesus meeting.
Yeah, told everybody about him, and so this kind of lends itself to that. I had this idea in my early 20s, and we just wrote it a year and a half ago. I wrote it with Kelly Johnson here in Nashville.
Okay.
It's called My Next X.
Standing over there in your tight t-shirt, slick back hair and your painted on jeans. I can tell you're an outlaw the way you keep looking at me. Oh Lord, here I go again. Straight back, that familiar somebody who could kiss my mouth and take my breath. Come on, dive right in. You look like somebody who could leave my heart and hair a mess. You look like my next ex.
That is a great song. That was the first tune that I heard you do, and I cracked up because it's got some. Every song can be interpreted by anybody a different way, but I kind of felt it in the. I related to the song, and for obvious reasons, it's a great tune.
So you're gonna ask me about my ex? What?
I was going to ask you, is your ex? You ever going to play that and be able to look right at him as you're singing it?
Well, there's too many of them.
So is that a composite?
Every time it's my okay, he's my next ex. It was a running joke when I was younger.
I'm sure you were a wild thing when you were young. That's no doubt about
funny,
it.
I'm pretty funny. So, me and the girls would be hanging out at downtown in Printers Alley or whatever, and a good-looking guy would come in. I'd go, he's my next ex.
Okay. Well, I've made that joke myself a few times. I said, well, I'll have to get around to, buying another house and giving it away and all that fun stuff. But,
Yeah.
It's a good song. I think I can use an analogy. I wrote a tune that has to be 25 years ago. Started writing it. It was right after, it was a breakup song, right? Well, First time I recorded it, I listened to it and I just went, oh my God, you just sound like some old cranky just divorced guy, you really sound like a schmuck, and so I listened to it, and it's a good song, but I still haven't really gotten the right version. So then after a few more crushed dreams and relationships, I wrote it again, and I started changing the lyrics so they weren't so nasty and making it more. Tried to turn it more into a Lyle Lovett song and a song that was serious, a lot of tongue in cheek. And the song was called "You Stay Away From Me," actually, and it's like the song's about the greater the space between you and me, we'll both be all right. And again, revision 29. I'm looking at it, and I keep having to pull out all this angry, pissed off lyric, and I'm like, no, this is not. So I kept it really kind of uncomfortable at the beginning. Then at the end, it's a tongue-in-cheek laugh. I'm like, yeah, you got a new shoes and a new haircut. You got the shoes and the purse matching and all kinds of stuff. But it's a funny song now, and it's not at all angry because I can poke fun. At the time it was so raw and painful. But now I didn't want to put it out as something that, it's a personal song that I know everybody can relate to. You have somebody you just love to death, and then all of a sudden they change their mask or their
take their mask off.
And I think there's a lot of good music made based on that. What?
Well, if you can't poke fun at your own mistakes,
absolutely,
seriously, because I know that I'm sort of called to put that out there, and because everybody relates to that, and I'm a believer in God, and so it's kind of strange how I'm called like that to go ahead and sing like this. And shine my light in that way, funny way. But I did play that song last week for a big, huge publisher last week, and I'll tell you, it's really funny. And he said, afterwards, he said, well, do you have anything happy? I'm thinking, that is happy.
It is happy. Got rid of that schmuck.
That's happy to me. That's funny, and I didn't say that, but then he said, there are some good lines in that song, but I just don't like that title. I'm thinking, that's the hook, man.
I think that is the hook. That's the first one. I saw that. I was looking at your songs, and I went, I got to listen to this one. This is
for sure.
I knew. It's like that synchronicity thing. It's like, Ron White makes a joke. Are you laying on a beanbag chair, eating Fritos, looking at the TV? Yes, I am. Have you been chasing unclean women? Have you been drinking, spending all your money in bars? I'm looking around, the dog's sitting looking at me. I just love that bit because I've been there. It's life will kill you sometimes, as they say.
That's funny.
So then, coming from that song being kind of a poke poking fun at somebody who,
myself.
they're nameless, but there are a bunch of them. You can definitely create a character out of a bunch of the same type of people because we all meet them. I'm like, oh, I've already met this person before. They're so tedious,
It's
But,
serendipity.
right? Well, I think your other song, though, on the other hand, shows you giving, your best to somebody and it being a good thing, kind of, just changing for the, getting ahead in the world and overcoming that kind of crap and giving, I think it's inspirational because good inspirational stuff is cool. But
Okay, so are you talking about the best of me, the slow one, or the other one?
I'm talking about the other one.
The other one that has some choice
Yes.
things in it.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, we're going live with Gina. She's going to tear it up.
Lost my job, lost the band, that lazy damn mailman didn't deliver my mail one time this week. My dog ran off with my best friend. The landlord asked me for my rent, and I can't even get enough sleep. Let me ask you, friend, is this how it's gotta be? My new normal me. I won't hobnob with my ex again just to get another loan from him. Won't let him through the door and into my sheets. Those high dollar pills ain't working, so I'm taking shots of bourbon. And all this bullshit keeps me on my feet. Let me tell you, friend, this is how it's gonna be. My new normal me. My new normal me might be abnormal to you. My new normal me smokes a little weed and has tattoos. My new normal me is unlike you've ever seen. Honey, this is my new normal me. Looking through old memories, there's that girl I used to be, but this woman standing here is carefree. I don't care about wearing bras, so go ahead and nail me to the cross. I'll be up there with the best you'll see. Let me tell you, friend, this is how it's gonna be. My new normal me. My new normal me might be abnormal to you. My new normal me smokes a little weed and has tattoos. My new normal me is unlike you've ever seen. Honey, this is my new normal me. Yeah. My new normal me is unlike you've ever seen. Honey, this is my new normal me. Yeah.
All right, all right. That's a great song. I just
I
love
did
it.
not smoke weed, all right? That was my co-writer.
We'll just say he was allegedly getting into the damn Chinese tomato patch. It happens to some people. I've been there.
Not anymore. I did it one time, but not anymore.
Wow, you're actually. I'm impressed. That's I have to say I could get addicted to any damn thing if I just look at it, and I kind of given up all that stuff. I do I have a medical marijuana card, so I have several pains and things. And here in New Jersey, it's one thing that we have that's kind of cool, other than taxes, unfunded pension mandates, peepers, creepers. I love it here. I love New Jersey, but I'm just joking because it's so different than down south. And
Yeah, I love New York, and
I do too.
I've never been to New Jersey, but I've been downtown New York.
Right,
But I
right.
liked it. It was kind of weird for me though in the beginning. It was like I was claustrophobic, and
Sure.
then I got over the like night time, I got used to it.
Right, right. Well, it's a great city, and I tell people who want to visit, you probably want to wait a while, and I mean that. 'Cause I was in town last week, and it's really sad, like for me to go in there and see nobody in the not Times Square in the morning is looks like my small town here. There's just
Really?
groups of people running around, but it's just weird, and it's like quiet comparatively. It's the strangest thing I've ever seen. I witnessed a blackout in 77, 3, somewhere around there. I don't remember. It's a long time ago, but that was nuts. I thought I'd seen it all. Then, of course, we had the Trade Center 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Gosh.
Yeah.
And, it's the city. We always bounce back and jump out, and we're like, okay, what's a global pandemic? Get out of my way. I got to get to work. I got to get to the office.
Exactly.
In New York, you could have a dead guy laying on the street, and it's as bad as like New Delhi. Or, I say Calcutta or somewhere with a lot of poor. People would just be like, "Get this guy out of the way, man!" What? Some silly whiny guy is like, "I want to go near him."
That's
And I'm always, it's terrible. But I'm just like, I look at the people.
It's
Normally,
true, though.
though, it's just hustle, and everybody's working. No matter where you come from, doesn't matter what you look like, what country. If you get to New York, you bust your ass, you're going to have something. If you can make it here, even if I don't care what job you've had, bartender, cleaning up the Port Authority. Now that's like, I think they should have hazardous duty pay to go down there. But the city will bounce back eventually. And who knows when, though. I think it's terrible to watch how many entertainers, the bar people, clubs, I have they're all dangling in the wind, blowing around. Well, it's like two pinatas, and you got two parties trying to whack the pinata, and they're just ended up whacking each other in the head. That's the best analogy I can come up with. And I don't get political because there's so many good people on both sides. It's just I'm not one of those people who runs around. I don't really care what somebody's politics are as long as they're not beating me up with it. And I know nobody wants to hear. They're like, "You're a drummer. Stick to beat on shit. Don't be like talking politics. What do you know about anything?" Well, I have to say, you've been a lot of fun to have on, and I'd love to have you back on again because you have an unfolding career and ongoing. And any good advice? Yes, you do.
Yeah, we're also getting ready to do, because my life has been so colorful.
Yes.
We are getting ready to do a movie or maybe a Netflix series. We're hoping that it is. And we have the producer, I can't tell it all, but we have the producer of Godfather 2 that won Golden Globes.
Great.
He's the one that's producing. And there's a guy in New York that's half owner of the film company. His name is Ronnie Wiskup. And and then another guy in Oklahoma, Duke Fleischer. And so, I'm gonna own it all in a movie.
Well, hell, I'd love to play your favorite mistake. I'm going to pitch you for the role.
Favorite mistake. Oh, Lord, honey. Let me tell you what. If I told you some of my favorite mistake. Oh, I don't know what my favorite mistake would be.
I'm just saying. I want to play the character in the movie. I think it'd be great fun. Make everybody really hate me,
You want to play one of my favorite mistakes.
There you go. But I have standards. I'm a little higher up the class from some of the other mistakes, I hope. I got stories to tell, and all I can say is the names are changed. I never kiss and tell, and life is it's just another thing in the rear view as far as I'm concerned, that past life shit. I
wrote a song like that, actually. That just reminded me of it.
You want to play it?
Oh no, it's for a guy, Okay. I never did really sing, and I had a guy demo it, but it's called "There's No Future in the Rearview Mirror."
Great, that's great. Well, I'm telling you what, that's a great title. I like your a great title says everything about a song, and I have a whole book full of titles, you know, songs and
Yeah, me
snippets of
too.
ideas, and you know, I just sit and go, "Wow, finally got a title to match these lyrics," or vice versa. And
Mhm.
you know,
Sometimes
I
the
I know
lyrics don't come
myself.
till years later. And
Say that again.
sometimes the lyrics don't come till years later after the
Right.
title.
You're
But
absolutely right.
I was mentored by Harlan Howard and Vern Gosden and Tony Day, and then most recently Gerald Smith, and they
Okay.
all had hit songs. And I've also written with Jan Buckingham. She did Queen of Denial for Pam Tillis,
Okay.
and yeah, so some great songwriters I've been mentored by. But Harlan was the funniest because I would come into the office and he'd call me the hook writer. I mean, he looked through my titles. He says, you're a hook writer."
All
And
right.
so when I walk in the door, he'd say, "Now, if I could say this on
You can
national,"
say whatever you want. We're 18 and over, you know, and if you're immature and don't like the show, they can go away.
he'd say, "Here comes our little hooker, guys."
Well, you're a good sport, you know. In today's climate, some person would. She told me I'm good looking. You know, I've held the door for women in New York. And they give me a dirty look. I'm like, I just
Exactly.
held the
I
door
just
for you.
laugh.
I'm not looking at your ass. You know. I mean,
That's like actually that is probably bad, but back then it was just normal. I just started laughing
right.
about it. So
Well, you know,
yeah,
I think
it was a
you know,
compliment.
it is a compliment, and everybody's having fun with it. You know, in our world.
Yeah,
I mean, doing stand up is just so difficult anymore because you can have a whole room full of offended people in 2 seconds. One of my
yeah,
friends was a comedian who had some chick in the audience go haywire on him and told him he wasn't very woke. And he said, I've been woke every day since I started doing comedy. And if you don't like my comedy, there's the door. I make fun of everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. If you don't like it, get the door out of here, you know, just
yeah.
head on. And I like authentic life is what country's about when it's done
That's
well.
true.
You
That's
know,
true. And
and
for a guy like him that had the biggest, he was called the grandfather of all songwriters. He was the biggest hit maker ever.
right,
And for him to say that, to me, it was just funny. And I laugh about it and go on into the room and write.
yeah, right, exactly. I mean, people. I know you get, you know, you're a good-looking woman, and I know that in the music business and in the world in general, you know, you've got all kinds of guys who are always chasing, you know, good-looking women around. And in the music business, there's just so much BS. That's like, I'll just look at people and go, man, I've got my shovel out in the truck. I'm going to come in here and start cleaning the floor around the table because I've heard, you know, in the music biz, I have heard every possible lie.
Me
Plus, I'm a
too.
sales guy, and we all get promised the moon, you know, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you can feel that wind shift. It's just something minor, like, oh, I don't know, you had to come to my house or something at 2 a.m. No, I don't think so. Gotta go. Time to move on. But at any rate, enough about that. I really am glad to have you on, and I hope you'll stay in touch. And
I will. Thank you.
and to all of your fans, everybody, I think Gina's great. We'd love to have you on the show again, and I hope you all who are watching the show will tune in and I don't know, give me a little love once in a while. We can always use it. So
Yes.
happy! I got your clip of you and your dog, which is just priceless. She is a beauty, and she's cute, and the perfect dog for you. You had a very festive Christmas thing, and I dig it.
All right. Good.
Okay,
And you
well,
have 2 cats, right?
I do. I have 2 cats. In fact, I don't know where they're at right now, but usually they'd be in here kind of doing the parkour thing. One of them's young. What's her name?
Mine?
Yeah.
Betty. Hang on. I'm getting her. Come here.
Come here, Betty.
Hang on one second. Come here, Betty. This is Biddy.
Hey, Betty. Hey, buddy. Betty, 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 Betty.
Look at
Come here,
that.
Betty. Buddy.
There we go.
He is so cute. Oh, good boy. Hey,
It's a
Betty.
girl.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. It is a girl. My bad. I have a mind like a
She's kind of
trap.
butch looking though.
I don't. Yeah, she might be a little, you know, butch, but that's
She looks
okay.
like
We
a
love
boy.
you. She's a good boy. She's a good girl. God Almighty, I'm dense today.
How
Well,
many of those marijuana cigarettes have you had today?
I haven't had any yet. Actually, it's about that time. I was saving myself for after our our show. But sometimes, the mind is a terrible thing, as they used to say on the United Negro College Fund. They used to say a mind is a terrible thing to waste. And of course, I always have to say a mind is a terrible thing. And for mine, it's probably true. So what are you doing for Christmas?
I don't know. I thought about going out to Idaho where a lot of my family are, but it's just so far, and I don't want to fly. I'd have to drive,
Yeah.
So I probably won't. I'll probably just stay around here.
All right.
I have some family here too, so I'll probably stick around and hang out with them.
Well, great. Well, we will be on the show on Christmas Day. We'll be on at 10 a.m. And if you happen to be sitting around and you have that kind of family where, you just take the family member that's a little crazy, you give them some whiskey and put them out on the front porch. That's kind of the way I look at our Christmas show. We're going to have all the people who've just had enough of the family, and they're just like going, oh, my God, they were talking politics. And they come and listen to us cut up for a while. So if I see you in the audience, I can assure you I'm going to drag you into the show. So yeah.
We'll be the ones with the moonshine on the front porch. No, I'm just
kidding. Absolutely. Well, like I say, I don't drink anymore, but in Tennessee, I've had some of that in the old days.
I don't drink that much. I mean, every now and then I'll have a glass of wine. But hey, you wanted a story. Okay, I have to tell you another story. When I was just like 8, I think I was 8 years old. Yeah, 8 or 9. All right. And my one sister, my oldest sister, was getting married. She was 16. I was 16 the first time too. So.
Wow.
Anyways, that first time.
Right. That's just what you call a starter marriage.
But this shows you how my life was going to end up. My aunt and uncle were passing off this mason jar full of clear liquids, and they're like, "No, you do it. No, you do it. You do it." And so I walked in and said, "What are you doing?" And they said, "Oh, get Gina. She'll do anything." So they gave this mason jar of clear liquid to me and said, "Here, go pour it in a punch and stir it up real good, and it'll make the punch better." And so I did, and I stirred it up, and I served it to all my little friends, and we were all just happy and drunk as we could be. And to this day, my mom, she would say, "Boy, everybody was so happy at that wedding."
It's funny. Have you ever down south noticed at weddings where everybody's Baptist and there's not any booze? Old ladies got their hair up in the bun.
Exactly.
Married. Well, I went to a wedding down in Lenox, Georgia. My ex-wife, her family lives on 5,000 acres of tobacco. And, I went down there on pigs. Being a New York guy, I didn't learn anything about animals till I moved south. I learned the hard way about standing behind a horse, getting bit by a pig or a ram getting hit. If it could happen, it happened to me, but I learned it the honest way. And I have animal sense now out the yazoo. I worked at a clinic for 10 years while I was going to school and playing in a band. And I have to tell you, you learn things down south.
Sure.
And manners are great. I have to say, most of the people that I meet down south, they'll say yes, sir, and no, sir. And when I say that sometimes up here, people look at me like, where the hell are you from? It's funny. My friends down south say I sound like this crazy New York guy. And my friends up here are like, man, you need to go on back to the farm, boy. and they're like one to tell me they live in an 8-foot by 12-foot apartment that's them $3,000 a month. I'm like, life is good, but, sometimes where you're living it is a lot better than other places. And, But I hope. I was going to ask you, at those weddings, do you ever notice that there's always one guy who's got a cooler out in his truck?
It's got a what?
There's a cooler out in the truck, and when the ladies are all inside putting in the punch and the little mushrooms and crap, there's a couple of good old boys. Like I thought
tailgating. It's tailgating.
Tailgating at the wedding. But this is the thing. My father-in-law, I'm from New York. He's from Georgia. Mm-hmm. We have a communication problem. And
for sure, I'll bet.
He just did not like me. I had long hair, and I was married to his firstborn, beautiful woman. And when I went up to work for him, he made sure he got a pound of flesh out of me.
Oh, wow.
If you're working with creosote logs, you're supposed to put on some overalls and a pair of gloves and long sleeves. So I was out there in the middle of the Smyrna, Georgia, freaking red clay ass day, and I must have moved 50 of those things driving a Bobcat. I go home that night. I am completely red. I look like one of those zombies on, those zombie stuff. And I'm like, God, I'm on fire. And he's like, well, you dumbass, you should have put on gloves and worn long sleeves. I said, well, so you saw me riding up and down with that creosote, one by one, stacking and leveling that shit. You didn't have the gall to come out and say, hey, man, you're going to be on fire tonight. That was how they did things down there. And they got a lot of entertainment value out of me.
Sure. They were up there laughing their what's off.
Absolutely. Do you know what skull is? I'm sure.
What is it? Yeah, skull.
Pinch between the cheek and gum, right? Let me tell you.
I'm going to tell you that story real quick.
I tell you what, I know a girl is a real lady when I see a skull can in her hair. I just go, wow, that's the woman for me. Imagine that.
So my ex roommate in Nashville, she would always choose. Her name is KK. And then also when I was little, I was at school and a boy said, hey, I dare you to put some of this in your lip. And I'm like, bring it on,
Yeah, right.
And I put it in there. He goes, now you're supposed to swallow the juice.
They did the same thing to me.
And I didn't know.
Their ass off. I didn't either.
I did. And then I got so sick. I was puking and puking.
Yes.
And I got sent home and my dad and mom were going, did you take drugs? What did you do? I was only like 10 or 11.
Oh my God! Skull.
I finally broke down and said, I put skull and I swallowed the juice. And my dad just started laughing. He said, you've had enough punishment. I'm not going to punish you.
I had some good old boys. I asked them, what's up with all this? They're all passing their can around.
Yeah, I know.
I tell you, a New York guy to go to a feed store, sit around with a bunch of rednecks who are shooting rats with a gun.
Rats or rats?
Yeah, rats.
Really?
Well, it was a feed store, so they're all scurrying around up in there.
Okay, yeah.
I got to tell you, man, the first time this little good old boy took out his gun, gets a rat. And I just looked at him, I go, man, can I try that? And they're like, this idiot. They're like, this is New York. That's what they call me, actually. They'd be like, New York fella, he's just crazy. And it was crazy as hell, though. They're shooting these rats. And they're hitting the floor, and I just thought that was great, man. You never see shit like that in New York. You might see a street out in the middle of Times Square, but you don't see sitting around dipping skull. And to me, I've been in boarding school for 4 years. I'm hanging around with all these Yale and Harvard people, and I'm like, go down south, and they did the same thing. They said, come on, Neil, this stuff gets you high. You put a little bit in there, and you suck on it real good, you get a bunch of saliva, and you just swig it down, you'll have a great buzz. Same thing happened to me that happened to you. It was awful, and I've never had another can of it since. But those are the little things we like. Do you have any crazy relatives that are going to come over and enliven your Christmas party, or how does that work in your family?
No, most of the relatives I have out here aren't like that, but they're fun, But if I went back to Missouri, that'd be a different story,
Oh yeah, I got you.
The holler down there, was way down in the holler. Like you go way down off, I think it's 44, I-44, right. That goes towards Springfield. Then there's a exit called Cuba, Missouri. So you go to the left off that exit and you go way down by the Merrimack River, which is like 30 miles down in the middle of nowhere. And I mean, the road yeah, that's where I came from.
Well, that's great. Well, you've certainly come a long way. And, I have to say Nashville or, just what you're doing in life. It's a great thing as a musician, getting to go places, see different things, meet people. And that's one of the best parts of it. It makes sometimes some of the suffering that goes along with it. And I just embrace it all. I expect things to go wrong no matter what you do, no matter how many lists you make, some shit's not going to be covered and it's going to go wrong. And I'm past the age of worrying about it. I'm just like, it's not like I have a million fans out there. I'm like Howard Stern and they're all just waiting on my every word. In fact, I appreciate all you guys, but, I don't know. I'm not charging what Howie did with his various plans, per month. But I'll take donations. We can start with one right now. I don't know. We need a Neve console. So that's only 300,000 or 400,000. I'm sure we can find a benefactor.
Well, I appreciate that you're not Howard Stern because that way I can keep my clothes on.
Oh, yes. Yes, you do. I mean, we can change that form of interviewing if you'd like. I mean, I can turn a corner real quick. And
No, that ain't happening again.
I know, they're right. And then you'll really have another story to write about. Some crazy DJ giving you a hard time.
That
All
ain't
right.
happening again.
It might. You never know what I'm going
I
to send
wrote
you.
this song. I'll sing it for you sometime off air, but it's called My Fishing Pole. It's 10 foot long, shiny and slick, and it ain't called an ugly stick.
You know, on the subways of New York, sometimes if you're kind of well endowed, you can kind of get out of my way. People clear a path, man. It's quicker than a guy with a gun, man. Just out of my way. This thing, I made them all heroes. They're all famous because of me. No, that's Weinstein. Anyhow, I hope
I've got a whole plethora of life songs. It could be a whole comedy skit.
absolutely. In fact, you know, we'll take it on the road. We'll call it the Jones Van Erdy Project. We're going to play a couple of nice songs, then write really ridiculous lyrics to them. That people are out there going, "Well, I thought I liked her. I don't like that deal, fella. I don't know. He's looking at her funny. Hide the children, hide the women, hide the dogs, hide the booze." Now, I talk a good game, but I'm so boring at this point in my life. I sit around, I play music, I do the things that I like. And I try and avoid at all costs any of the other things in life. Just tear your ass up.
Well, that's what it's about. It's all what life's about, you know.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. We'll have you on. I won't be stalking you, I promise, but I will keep in touch.
You have already.
See that? Oh,
Peeping Needle.
Hi. It's
Go
called
ahead and say Peeping Neve. Peeping
Peeping
Neve.
Neve. I love it. I have several nicknames that you know. What's one more?
Right.
My
right.
guitar player.
See you later.
That could be my new logo. Anyhow, you're a great sport. You're a lot of fun, and I can't wait to have you back on. I'll reach out over the holidays. You're going to see you and your pretty little animal on our show, along with a bunch of other folks saying, "Hey, we're having a good time live with Neve." And
thank you.
As the road unfolds,
and Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas to everybody from us here. And for all the people who don't know who I'm talking about Gina Jones. All right. Bye-bye, Gina. We'll see you next time.
All right. See you next time.
All righty.
For bonus content, extras, and all sorts of cool goodies, become a patron. Go to Patreon. Live with Neve.